It's Sunday, and you have the Sunday scaries. Monday is tomorrow. You're going back to that routine that you so much despise. You're going back to that routine that's draining you mentally, physically. That routine that keeps you away from your family. That routine that keeps you stagnant with the same pay. That routine that you pretty much are tired of and you want to make change. I feel you because I'm feeling that right now. It's barely 6 a.m. right now at the time of this recording on a Sunday, and I'm feeling it. Like I Sundays are awesome because it's my family day. You know, go to church. You know, try and do something with the kids. Try and do something with the wife. But there's always that little thorn, that little thorn in my brain that's telling me, you know, you can enjoy this. You can enjoy this, but you got to go back to work tomorrow. You got to start that routine that you so much despise. You got to show up to a place that honestly you don't want to be showing up at. You know what that does to our nervous system, to our brain, to our body? It puts us in stress mode. You can't fully enjoy your life because especially I'm speaking to people that don't love their job. There's people out there that love their job and they love doing it. For them, that's awesome. They probably found exactly what they're meant to do. They found exactly what they're gonna do for the rest of their life. They found it, and that's awesome because I wouldn't mind being there. But after so many times of having jobs and being like, the next one's gonna be better, the next one's gonna be better, or the next one's gonna be better. And don't get me wrong, some of the jobs got better, but never once did I feel like, dang, I have so much freedom here. Dang, I can call out as many times as I want to because either I'm sick or something happened or blah, blah, and nothing's going to happen. I don't think I've ever had a job like that. I don't know if you have, or hey, I took 2 weeks off, but I feel like taking another 2. I'm just going to take them without telling anybody. I haven't had a job like that. Just to show you guys a little bit, just to explain to you guys a little bit. By the way, if you're new to this channel, my name is Mike. Basically started this channel to basically document my own, YouTube journey to just quit my 9-to-5, with YouTube at the center of it. But I'm an aspiring entrepreneur. If you're like me, that you want to be, working for yourself, you want to quit that 9-to-5 because you so much despise it. This might be the channel for you. But nonetheless, I want to give you guys a little backstory. I started my life pretty young. I had my kids pretty young. I love them to death. I had my first daughter when I was, I believe I was either 19 or 20. My life started early, and I didn't graduate high school. I jumped into the workforce as soon as I possibly could. My first job was right before my daughter was born. Literally the month my daughter was, I literally got a job literally the month my daughter was going to be born. And I remember being so stressed out because I couldn't find a job and stuff like that. That's why I was so thankful for a long time. So thankful to have a job. So thankful because it was difficult. I was going through it. If you don't know, I have a video titled, I don't know what it's titled at the time of this recording, but I basically talk about being like a younger father and the struggle, and speaking to other either young dads or just dads in general about the feelings that sometimes come with it. But that's why I was so thankful to have a job when I got my first job. My first job was pushing carts at a grocery store, and then I quickly got promoted to being in the meat department. And at the time, that was enough money for me to, at the time my wife was working too, so that was enough money for me and my daughter and our little studio apartment. So I was on cloud 9. I had pretty much everything I wanted. I had a job that I so much longed for. I had a routine. I had something to basically keep me occupied, which is a huge thing for me. I love to stay busy. But in that meat department, eventually as you can probably feel with your job right now. And it doesn't matter if I feel like, you're like an entry level position like that, where you're working at a grocery store, or all the way to like a higher corporate position, or a higher, I guess professional position, if you will, or a specialized position. You still might feel the same exact feelings. But basically, when I was there, it's just imagine yourself having to, clock in around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, work all the way to like 11, sometimes 12, cleaning a meat department, scrubbing it down, being all wet, smelling like fish, smelling like meat, smelling like, just a meat department. And then coming home, obviously all wet, tired, walking home, because at the time I didn't have a job. Sorry, I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. And then having to go in the next day at 4 a.m., that was my reality for a long time, for like close to like 4 or 5 years. And I remember at that time I was like, dang, dude, I need something better. Like, and then my coworkers weren't like the greatest. I had some cool coworkers, but a lot of them were, a lot of them were there. Like, a lot of them chose like, this is where I'm going to plant my flag, which I thought was crazy. I have a coworker, I love her to death. I still talk to her when I get a chance, if I go to that same grocery store. But she's been there for, quite a while. And she would always tell me too, she'd like, dude, go get your like diploma, go, go do something else, and she was so cool. And she would always buy my daughter's gifts. And fast forward, like I had my second daughter, so obviously I needed more income and stuff like that. So basically, honestly, that job that I so much longed for, that job that I really, really wanted, started to feel like something I didn't want anymore. So that's when I moved to a different grocery store where they paid me more, and I was like, oh man, the pay feels worth it now. And then you start feeling the stress, and then all of a sudden they're requiring things more of your role than what you need to do. So I was there for about a year at the new grocery store, and honestly, like, there was days where I'm like, dude, like, is there something better? Is there something else? And that happened after I got my diploma. I forgot to mention that part. I got my diploma my high school diploma before I left the first job, and that's what made me go into the second job, because they required a diploma. And like I said, it felt like such an upgrade at the time, but then slowly, like it happens all the time, it kind of fizzled out for me, and I was just like, okay, like it's time for something else. After a year being there, I had plans on like becoming a manager and doing all these things. And don't get me wrong, those things were in the line, like they were in line to happen. And then I got sick. Something happened to me towards the end of my year at that second grocery store, where I blamed it on the stress. I'll probably make a different video about it. But basically it was messing me up. It was messing me up. But to keep the video a little short, I'm going to skip that story, but that's what happened. I started stressing about things. I don't know. It took a toll on my body. I don't know what it was, but I had to leave it. So I left it for a job with the same amount of pay, but less hours. I started working at Target. And I was there seasonally. One of my best friends, funny enough, the one that I'm going to pick up right now, he got me in there, and then started working there. And right there was a very transitional phase in my life, because I was just like, dude, like, what are you gonna do for more money? Like, are you gonna go back to school? Like, what's gonna happen? Like, it was a time where I was kind of just like, what's gonna happen, And since it was a seasonal position, because I wanted to get out of my old job so bad, because I felt like it was it was messing with my health. Freaking, I went to Target, and it was a lot less stress, and it was whatever, but like I didn't want to work at Target forever, so I was constantly looking for things, And I found a job like at a what was it? After they let me go seasonally, because it was just seasonal, so they let me go. I found a job at this it took me like a month to find this job at like a solar company, where basically I was going to be climbing roofs and driving to a bunch of locations and and climbing the roofs and sketching out the roofs to see if they were ready for solar. My first, was it my first or second day? I don't remember. I think it was like my second day or something like that. Sorry, this part is important. My first day, I was with a guy. I was training with a guy, and he was like, "All right, new guy, since you're new, like you're gonna be driving the truck today." So I'm like, "All right, cool." I get in the truck, and he gets a phone call, and basically the phone call is like, "Hey, don't have the new guy drive because he's not on the insurance." And then I was like, "Okay, cool, no biggie, that's fine," you know. And then we go to a spot. We end up in, I don't remember where. I think it was man, I forget where the spot was, but basically it was like on a hillside. So like the complex that we were at was very high, it was very tall. And I asked him if like he needed me to get like the ladder strap because we had to get on the roof. And he's like, "Oh, you mean the bitch strap?" And I was just like, "Okay." Like, all right, that's fine. Like, haha, glaze the new guy for wanting to use a ladder strap to be safe, right? To not fall off a freaking roof. And then as I was on that roof, and I was like, dang, I am high up. And low key, like, I'm like, on that job, I realized I had to fear heights. And honestly, it kind of hit me. I was like, dude, what am I doing for freaking, at the time, I don't remember what it was. It was like $19 an hour. Like, what am I doing for like $19 an hour? Like, what am I really doing? Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm on a roof trying to draw out a roof and freaking spending like hours driving on the road. What position am I putting myself in? Like, this is crazy. And I realized, like, I was like, dude, I'm on a roof, potentially a falling hazard, obviously. And they didn't want to put me on the car insurance because I was not insured, but they didn't have me on any other insurance. So God forbid something would have happened to me on the job, It was a startup company, so it was like a little sketchy and stuff. But I was like, I was like done. I was like, dang. I was like, I finally felt like I found a job after being unemployed for a month. And then I found another job where I was at the dealership. And I spent 5 years of my life at that dealership. And don't get me wrong, for those 5 years, like, I tried to escape. I tried a bunch of stuff. I've already mentioned it in the video, in previous videos, but at the time when I started that new dealership job, I was doing a podcast. I was doing, I tried doing YouTube. I failed. Me and my friends started like a social media marketing company. We started a real estate photography company. We started a portrait photography company. We tried landscaping. Like, I was trying to get out of that I was trying to get out of the rat race for sure. I was trying to get out of that rat race. And I only say this to you right now because, and I'm sorry that, the story was a little bit long, but I know what it feels like to like literally be at a job, feel like it's exciting at first, and then it fizzles out or whatever, like things get piled on you, stress, and then you start realizing what the job really is or what it has become, in your life, and you're just like, this is not worth it, And I've had that so many times to the point where I'm like, is there a job out there that's actually worth it? For me at least. I can't speak for you, but is there a job out there that can literally give you the life that you want? And I realized that early on, like, there really isn't, but I'm not gonna lie, during like the last year or so, like, it became less and less, like, I started to like tell myself, like, maybe that's not possible. Maybe that's for someone else, or maybe that's for someone in a different position than me. But this year, or I want to say this month or whatever it has been, these last couple months, I've been freaking telling myself, like, no, like, that life that you want, because I'm 29 and I'm about to be 30, and I feel like, I don't know why, I feel like that's a big transitional time in my life. And not just that, but I have 3 daughters, right? And then I have a boy on the way. And I promised myself that I was going to be around more for this child, for my son. And it's not because it's a boy, but it's because I'm planning on it being my last one. And I want to be able to, like, literally just clock in, like, start work when I want to start work when it gets done, and then obviously get paid like the way I plan on getting paid, and then having my time revolve around my life, not my time revolve around my job, because I don't know, like, I hate it because one side of me feels like it's so out of grasp and it's so out of touch with reality. And then the other side is like, dude, it's so possible. It's like right there. You can grab it with your freaking hands, And that's what I'm striving for. But to reel it into the topic of the day, it's like Sunday reminds you of your situation, because you know that tomorrow you got to go to work, that stuff. And I say it a lot, like that mental, like, feeling, and it's almost like you feel it in your body, like when you have to go to work tomorrow, like especially to a job that you kind of just obviously like hate. You just feel it. It feels different and it feels nasty. Like you just dread it. And, I'm pretty sure it has to do something with like your cortisol, and like it rises when you think about something stressful. And I just so tired of that feeling where it's just like my freedom is limited to 2 days a week, and in those 2 days, like, we got to catch up on the stuff we didn't do all week, or, you know what I mean? We have other obligations and we have to sleep, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's why, like, I make it a decision that every weekend, like, I gotta get up early. Because this is the time. This is like the momentum snowball on the weekends, or whatever your days off are, is literally just to build up enough time and the energy that you have left over to put it into something like YouTube, put it into something like a small business, to something that you want to do. And that's why, like, literally Sunday just feels like that to me. It just feels like, all right, tomorrow is like, it almost feels like it's happening today. Like, oh snap, like I have to work, and I don't want that to be like a thing anymore. I don't want that to be a thing. If you're watching this, you probably don't want it to be a thing anymore. And hopefully you're working on something. But that's kind of why I started this channel, is because I want to motivate you at least to do something. Like, do something. Because we only got one life. We only have one life. We can only have so many kids. And they're not going to be kids forever. And honestly, I feel kind of emotional about it, because like I when I look at like old photos of my children, like, I'm like, dang, like, where has the time gone? Like, I can't do it. My wife knows this. Like, I can't look at old photos of my kids, because I get so emotional. And if you don't have kids, like, take that as advice. Like, and you hear it all the time. Like, they grow up so fast, and it's so true. They grow up fast because maybe you're not there a lot, But that's where I'm going to basically end the video. I want to tell you guys right now, before I close it out, that life that you want, I feel it that it's fully possible for you. I feel it for myself. I feel it for you. If you made it this far in the video, let this be your sign that you stuck around long enough, because that's kind of how it is with anything you start, with YouTube, with a job, or with a business. It's like you stuck long enough to reap the rewards, And if YouTube or content creation or a business is something that you want to do, I'm glad you stuck around. Because then you got to to reap the fruit, if you will. You got to enjoy the fruits of your labor, But Sunday scaries, man, it's a real feeling, and it's a weird feeling, because Sunday should be a day of peace. Sunday should be a day of reset. Sunday should be like, a day to just, relax, if you can, if it's possible. And, Monday shouldn't feel like, shouldn't feel like a climactic moment, like where it's like you have to, like, it's a stressful time and stuff, It's something that I feel like should just be another day. It should be another opportunity. That's what Monday should feel like. That's what every day of the week I feel like should feel like. It's just another opportunity to get that bag, to get that life that you want, to better your family, to better yourself, to better our neighbors. Because I think that's what we're put here on earth to do, is to create an abundance for yourself and for other people around you. And to honor God, honor your parents, honor your wife, your kids. But that's where I'm going to leave it at. You guys have a great one. Enjoy your Sunday.